Hello, Dr. Karen Can here. Welcome to another edition of the Spiritual Medicine Digest. This week's topic is integrating the shadow. And before we dive into that topic, if you are watching this on YouTube, I would love for you to subscribe to my YouTube channel and also hit the notification bell, and it'll let you know whenever I do a live stream or new video. So let's dive into our topic, integrating the shadow. Now, I don't know about you, but when I was younger, I was always thinking about be a good girl. Be a good girl, be obedient. In fact, I was like teacher's pet, which was very annoying to the rest of the students because I would always be obedient. I'd always do what I was told. I would always try my best. Luckily, I have that in my core personality, if you will, that desire for mastery. So that usually, made me popular with teachers and parents and other kids' parents and so on and so forth. And so this is, what I was like growing up. And what I realized was that any negative comment about me, I would take to the core. Like I would take it so personally, like it would devastate me. Like I could cry silently in my bed for days if somebody said something bad about me. And of course, it was bad enough to be bullied and that kind of thing in school. And of course, the whole racism thing. Yeah, I've been through all that, and a lot of people have. However, it was the toughest when it came to negative comments from my parents. And isn't that so for many people, right? Raise your hand if you've ever had that experience. So other people that you don't necessarily know, like, and trust as much as your parents, it's not that as big a deal if they hate you. But if your parents say something negative, then it can hurt you to the core. In fact, I remember crying over so many letters that my mom wrote. My dad didn't really write that much back then. About, her disappointment with me and all this kind of stuff. So here I was as a kid, and throughout my early adulthood, doing my best to like please my parents, get straight A's, become a doctor, right? Thank goodness I love science and I love people. So, and doing everything I could to try to make them happy. And yet I wasn't very successful. Go figure. Have you ever tried to make somebody happy and it not work? Yeah. So I made myself miserable trying to make somebody else happy. And I got chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, and all these stress-related diseases, autoimmune diseases. And then I even got suicidal. And I had to make a decision. And thank goodness for guidance from Source. At that time, I wasn't really connected at all. And I pretty much cried myself to sleep. And then there was like a voice. It was my own voice that said, you have a choice. And I argued with the voice, of course. That I was good at arguing. I just wouldn't shut up, but it was just really gentle and not pushy. It was just, you have a choice. And I thought, well, what if I did have a choice? So I made some choices that were really tough. The right choices for me, not so right for some other people, including my ex-husband, at the time husband, and my parents. They were devastated. And here's the thing is, because I chose to live and not kill myself, because I chose to live, I decided at that moment that I was going to stop blaming my parents and everyone else for how miserable I was, because here I was trying to make them happy. They were trying to make me happy, and I wasn't happy, and they weren't happy, and nobody was making anybody happy. So I decided, okay, all right, if I screw up, I'm not going to blame anybody. I'm just going to point the three fingers back at myself, right? You know how that thing goes, you point and there's three fingers back. Anyway, it looks like a gun. I didn't mean that. Anyway, so there. How about that? three fingers going back this way, one finger this way. So I decided that yes, I had no one else to blame. And I actually said to my parents in one email forever ago, my parents were saying, you're making the most terrible mistake. You're going to be miserable. How could you get a divorce? This is terrible. All this kind of stuff. I said, look, I've been trying all my life to make you happy, and I made myself miserable, and you're not any happier. So, and I blamed you for all that. And I apologize. I apologize for blaming you all those years for my unhappiness. It was not your fault. You were trying your best. You were doing the best you could, given what you know and given how you were raised. From this moment on, and I stuck to that. I stuck to that and never went back. I said, from this moment on, I'm never blaming you again for any of my issues. If I'm upset, if I have a problem, if I get into trouble, it's on me. No more blaming you. And you know what? I have not. I have not. Now, of course, they like to remember things when I was 5 and 16 and 20. That's up to them. They want to go back in time in the Wayback Machine, right? And remember all the times I said this or that, right? But since that one email, I have not blamed them for one iota of anything. And I really feel good about that. I really do. And so when my parents or my dad in this case, oh, he's actually writing, which is really cool, because it used to be my mom writing nasty letters, and then she stopped that. Of course, she doesn't remember that, and I'm not bringing it up, so who cares, right? But my dad is now writing what other people would consider nasty letters because he's upset. He just got out of the hospital. He doesn't feel good. He's in pain, right? I wasn't there to help out because stubborn Karen, is sticking up to her values, whatever those weird things are, and not willing to come help out and be in the hospital and mask and vax and whatever else they require in Ontario that I haven't really looked into because even my request to have an audience with the condo board of directors was met with a great degree of scrutiny and stress, and my parents are like, forget it, don't even bother, we don't want you here, right? Understandably. So and you might go, well, you're a medical doctor, why aren't people listening to you? Like, maybe that I'm 4-time #1 best-selling author. Maybe that I'm top 10 in my medical school class. Maybe that I'm an assistant professor at UCLA. Well, apparently that doesn't matter. It really doesn't. Parents perceive whatever they perceive. So the shadow part is I used to feel really bad about myself if anyone said anything bad about me. Right? And now, because I've taken full ownership of those parts of me that I previously ignored and pretended they weren't there because I wanted to be a good person. I wanted to be obedient and helpful and, the light and only the light, right? Now I can have more compassion for myself and others. And I have more patience and not take things personally when they get into their shadow sides. And I will quote from my dad. Actually, I thought this was pretty good. I really did. Okay. Stop laughing, Karen. Okay. So, quote from my dad. I can't stop laughing. Okay. It's not the same way I'm laughing. Okay, I'm trying to be serious. With real power, Karen could be big in history. She would crush her opponents into submission. She is a Qin emperor, a Hitler, and a Stalin. Okay, I just find that really ironic. If you've been following me for a while, I think you know what I'm talking about. But it's like, the whole point of me standing up, to the mandates, which are not laws, by the way, is to protect our children and our grandchildren and our godchildren and the elderly and those that can't stand up for themselves. So doing the quote unquote right thing, I'm not talking about right or wrong as in like, good, bad, evil, that kind of thing. Right meaning that would help manifest what we all desire as a collective: love, joy, peace, harmony, health, radiant health, prosperity for all, right? So that's what I mean by right. I don't mean right and wrong as in good and evil, black and white kind of stuff, which I used to be very into. So doing the right thing can be very difficult, in fact, extremely difficult in this day and age. And it really shows, who's willing to do what's hard. And that may be meaning that, my parents hate me temporarily. Well, they love me, but they hate what I do. Or hate my position. They love me, but they hate my position. So because I've been working so diligently over the last couple decades in acknowledging, honoring, healing, and now integrating my shadow, when these so-called negative comments come about, or these emails, whatever, it doesn't faze me. It doesn't give me even a moment of negative vibration or pause. I mean, I definitely react sometimes to things that that I hear happening to children, okay, that does garner a reaction from me. I do address it as soon as I can, okay, within myself. But this kind of stuff that used to floor me, okay, would not be functional in my life. For my parents, it doesn't faze me anymore. And so, if somebody who's a medical doctor, who's, used to be assistant professor, used to be the co-chair of the evidence-based medicine committee, right, teaching residents, if I'm not being trusted, believed, or anything like that by my family and some of my Canadian, friends and family, mostly family, what chance does a non-medical doctor have, right? So it's like, don't take things personally. Thank you for that book, by Miguel Ruiz, The Four Agreements, because that's one of the four agreements, is don't take anything personally. Now, I really do wish that my attitude and feeling of four agreements will be transferred to both my sister and my brother, because they were also admonished in that said email. And my sister can take things really to heart, and she's a beautiful, sweet soul, very generous, and yeah, I mean, she's seen other emails from my dad directed solely at me, and she's emailed me and said, "Are you okay?" That would have crushed me. I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm fine. I don't take anything personally. He's having a bad day, So it's like, okay, I'm having a bad day, so who can I project it onto, So I get that. Here's the thing: is anything that's unhealed in your shadow, you will be triggered. Think about it. You'll be triggered by anything that's not yet healed in the shadow. So being triggered actually helps that. And I'm specifically talking about criticisms. It's the easiest one to address, right? Criticisms from other people. It's like if it really bothers you that someone criticizes you as X, Y, or Z, that's your shadow that you haven't fully acknowledged, loved. Yes, love your shadow, healed, and integrated it fully into your being. So, for example, I used to be really upset when somebody would say I was lazy. So I would work 10 times as hard as everybody else just to prove I wasn't lazy. And then I burnt myself out and made myself very sick. So the dark, part of the lazy, okay, the shadow side of lazy, there's a light side to every shadow side. What is that? Think about it. Self-care. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it took me a long time to figure that one out. Yeah. So that would be it. Now the other trigger I had, and I'd love for you, by the way, if you're watching this on YouTube or wherever, just put in the comments, like what have you healed? Like what triggers have you healed? So lazy was one of mine. The other one was I had a bunch. The other one was like truth, right? So if someone accused me of lying, that would really trigger me because I was like honest, like overly honest, like crazy honest. To a fault. And now I realize, okay, well, yeah, everybody has their perception of what that is. So if somebody says I'm lying or whatever, I'm like, okay, well, that's your perception. I'm doing the best I can. And I know that one of my core values is integrity. Be honest and real, authentic, right? And integrity. So just because that's my core value and somebody else doesn't appreciate that and thinks I'm lying, oh well, like what am I going to do, right? So sometimes the universe will give us these abundance challenges so we can see how we're doing on integrating and embracing, if you will, even the shadow part. Another one I had, let's see, so honesty, laziness. What was another one I had? Oh yeah, it had to do with money, being greedy. Oh yeah, that was a good one. Oh yeah. So as a kid, I used to be, well, I still sort of do that sometimes. Be overly generous to the point where I'd give away my brother's stuff too to make someone happy. That probably wasn't a good idea. Yeah. So I would overgive to be loved or to be perceived as good or whatever the shadow was, right? So if somebody criticize. And here's the thing: is as I grow in business and have a bigger impact, there's more and more trolls that come out, Facebook or wherever there is. And there's some people that aren't trolls; they just are projecting their own scarcity onto me because I just happen to be there. They see the Facebook ad and they have to project their stuff. So there's all these myths going around, like healers shouldn't charge for what they do. Everything should be free. Blah 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 blah. Right? So it's old mythology, which is probably why there's a huge percentage of incredibly talented healers that are overweight, chronic fatigued, very sick, have autoimmune disease, and can't make any money, and they're poor. Okay, so these things are parts of the shadow, and I know when we get those kinds of comments, and everybody at this level of this entrepreneurship get some of those kind of comments, and they're sometimes really nasty. And I just know they're projecting their stuff. And what's really interesting is now I find that I can be creative. That is a superpower of mine, is to be creative. So I can be creatively responsive? Yes, responding. I can creatively respond to that person, or even my dad. So I'm laughing again. Sorry. You don't know what I'm looking at. So in response to my father, I want to make sure I did let him know that I did receive the email. So I just tell him, I received your email, and to cheer you up, I made you a meme of me with of me looking like a cartoon Stalin. So what I did was I went on Canva and I found a picture of I think it's the Kremlin or something. And there was I searched the word Stalin, right? And there was this cartoon wig and this mustache. So I put it in a little meme thing with his quote on there. With real power, Karen could be big in history. She could crush her opponents in submission. She is Chin Emperor, Hitler, and a Stalin. And you know what? That's another shadow piece. So what we consider dictators, as evil and bad and all that kind of stuff, what do they do well, right? They're really good with manipulation. Now, you think, oh, well, that manipulation is bad. Shouldn't manipulate people. Well, here's the thing. If you're in a bank robbery situation, okay, and you can talk your way out of it and save a whole bunch of people from getting shot, are you going to use that skill? I hope so. You would manipulate your way out of that situation, right? So there are light sides to those shadows. So maybe Hitler and Stalin were really good at talking and convincing people. And dictators don't get to be dictators without being, I would think, really stubborn or obstinate, like their way, right? Like they would just stick to the plan and to the point of it's kind of crazy. But at the same time is when we are faced with tyranny, when we are faced with real dictators, and that kind of thing, does that tenacity to hold your ground, hold my ground, does that help humanity? I would say yes. I would say yes. So there are positive aspects, believe it or not, to the Hitlers, the Chin Emperor, and the Stalins. If they are tenacious, then I can equally be tenacious. So what we're going to do for the TOLPAKAN Healing Activation today, if you would like to participate, if this stuff is too triggering for you, totally get it. You probably shut it off by now. But anyway, if you would like to receive, what we're going to do in the TOLPAKAN Healing Activation is go ahead and release and dissolve and delete any resistance to fully loving and integrating the shadow aspects, to help you be aware and fully conscious of those things so you can consciously heal them if you need to consciously heal them. There are several that might come up. So remember, anytime you get really triggered, it's usually a shadow aspect of yourself that still needs to heal. And there's different layers. So you might get massively, triggered on 10 out of 10, and then a year from now, it's like a 5 out of 10. And then, 2 months later, it might be a 1 out of 10, right? So there are different layers that we can work on this. And the cool thing is, I have to tell you, it is so freeing. It is so freeing not to take things personally. It is so freeing to have criticism and whatever, coming with negativity coming my way, I don't have to take it on. I don't have to buffer against it, believe it or not. Okay. I don't have to do that. Just let it process itself through. Because if we are all one anyway, think about it. If we are all one, the person giving you the criticism is you as well, and me as well, right? Demonstrating a shadow aspect. So if we want them to heal the other part of ourselves, then we need to do our part in healing our shadow and integrating it. Okay, so let's do this together. If you want to and you are able to, you can wrap your hands really fast, get some movement going, get some chi and energy flowing, close your eyes. Okay, and feel the energy in your hands, feel the movement. This is called stillness through observing total movement. So feel the pulsing in your hands, the waves. Maybe it goes up the arm, perhaps it goes to the rest of your body or parts of your body. No judgment at all where it goes or where it doesn't go. Just observe it with your mind. Make a note. Here we enter the 0 point field where we can manifest and do healing. I'm going to say some TOLPAKAN healing directives, and your job is just to notice the energy and the feeling in your body. Now, in case you're not very clairsentient, meaning that you're not feeler as much as maybe a listener, then you can also see if there's any words that drop in for you. Here we go. I now command that any resistance to fully loving, integrating, being aware of, and embracing your shadow self or selves or aspects of the shadow be completely healed and resolved in the highest and best way, all directions of time and all timelines where you exist with ease, speed, and grace. It's now commanded that you be downloaded with the optimal awareness and willingness to fully love, embrace, integrate, honor all shadow aspects of yourself and of the world in the highest and best way, all directions of time, with speed, ease, and grace. Now just go ahead while we're in this 0 point field bubble, this healing bubble, go ahead and imagine all of the shadow aspects of yourselves and all timelines where you exist and all of humanity. And just imagine it just filtering into a pot. We're stirring the pot. And as we stir the pot, we bring in the ingredient of love, and we put love in that pot, and we stir it around, stir it around, stir it around. We can gain the skill sets of those shadow aspects of ourselves and others to be used appropriately when it's for the highest and greatest good for all. Sort of like a sword that comes out when it's necessary to cut away the brambles. And then we put it back when we don't need it anymore. So just being able to love so we can integrate and love all parts of ourselves. And that is oneness, to love all, good, bad, ugly, dark, light, everything. To love everything. So take a breath in and out. You can open your eyes if your eyes were closed. I'd love to know in the comments what that experience was like for you. For some people, there might have been tears. For other people, there might have been laughter. Or maybe you felt some shifting in your body. I'd love to know. Please post it in the comments and let me know. So some announcements for this week. On the radio show, The Light Warrior Radio, on Monday the 16th, I have the pleasure of airing the podcast with Dr. Emily Splickle. Now, she is the founder of Naboso, and if you have watched my Healthy Habits, Healthy Life, you have seen the one where I talk about Naboso souls, these sensory souls with little pyramids on them that help stimulate the bottom of your feet so you will have better neurological coordination. And she's going to deep dive into the foot itself, unlocking the power of the foot. We're going to be talking about the foot not as a musculoskeletal motor function kind of piece of us, but actually as a sensory organ. Yes, as a sensory organ. So we're going to be talking about like muscle tuning, right? And why if you forget that there's one more step when you go down the stairs, why it hurts when you step down thinking that there isn't one more step, vice versa. We're going to talk a little bit about mechanoreceptors and why that's important in your feet and hands. Also about the fascia and its, 1 million nerves, and the 3 main keys to fascial health, which may be very, very important these days because the fascia is where source codes reside as well, and a little bit about supplements that she likes to use for foot health. So that's 12 noon Eastern on Monday. So some cool stuff, new stuff. Ascension 3 is officially open the 16th at 11 a.m. Eastern. And so even though there's quite a few sellouts from the last time we were open in 2022, we still have quite a bit of inventory that is on sale. Yay! So take advantage of this. And some items there's just a few left. So, they are limited. If you missed the 13 chakra bracelet activation pre-launch, pre-order last week, I apologize. We are no longer selling pre-orders at this time. And so you'll have to wait to a future date to purchase the 13 chakra triple Shambhala bracelet. That being said, we are making them by hand, one by one, as fast as we can, but also with love and care. So it is possible, especially if you live in the US, that you might be able to get your 13 chakra bracelet, even if you didn't get the pre-order before the May 1st official 13 chakra activation ceremony, which we will do over Zoom with me. So one of the things I want to make sure you know is the Ascension 3 formula, the drops. Okay, those are for US, and then you can get the bands, sorry, purple band here. If you don't have that, that is really important during cold and flu season. It can really help your body support itself, the immune system, detoxification. So I highly recommend 12 drops of that every single day of those frequencies. A couple other things, announcements is my friend Isa Herrera. She is totally awesome. She has her complete pelvic floor reset workshop coming up, and she's really helped me immensely in this arena, really understanding the pelvic floor and how it all works. And I didn't even know I was had all these not so great habits, and she really helped me with that. So I love to support her during her launches, and this is a free workshop, so I want you to be part of it if you have any sort of female issues, any sort. And last but not least, remember that we have some awesome telesummits going on, including the Elevated Existence and the Science of Healing and Consciousness is actually launching formally on the 16th, and my interview will air soon after that. So I'll put all those links near this video. Thank you so much for joining me for this week's Spiritual Medicine Digest. I hope you really enjoyed the video. If you do, give it a thumbs up and feel free to pass it along, share it to someone who needs to hear this message. And remember to subscribe if you're not already subscribed to my YouTube channel. Until next week, lots of love and bye for now.